Welcome to Inside Innovation, a North Texas podcast where we explore people, ideas, and infrastructure shaping the future of life sciences and healthcare innovation in North Texas. Today's conversation focuses on something often overlooked, but absolutely mission critical to innovation at scale: logistics, cargo, and global connectivity. I'm joined today by Milton De La Paz, Vice President of Airline Relations and Cargo Business Development at the DFW International Airport, one of the most important global assets our region has, particularly as biomanufacturing, advanced therapeutics, and supply chain sensitive innovation continues to grow here. Milton is not only a senior aviation executive with more than 25 years of airline experience, he's also a visionary advocate for how cargo functions as the circulatory system of a modern innovation economy. Milton, welcome to Inside Innovation.
Thank you for having me, Eric. We've been talking a long time. It's good to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me to your program.
Yeah, we have these conversations at events and all kinds of things, and it's like, let's get an official conversation on record, right?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So we're going to jump right in. And so this first section is, I like to call it setting the stage. And so I want to, and this is more personal, and it'll provide our audience a certain level of context. And so for those who may know DFW as a passenger hub, but may not fully understand the scope of your work, can you share your role at DFW and what you're ultimately responsible for driving at the airport?
Sure, and you're right. DFW Airport is known as a major passenger hub. Mm-hmm. We have American Airlines. This is our fortress hub, and they're one of the largest network carriers in the world. So yes, we're known for our passenger air service. And just for context, on that side, we're the third largest airport in the world in terms of passengers, and the third largest airport in the world in terms of operations.
Not just in the U.S., the world.
In the world.
Yep.
So we facilitate a lot of people through our terminals, and we move a lot of metal through the airfield. So one part of my responsibility at the airport is I lead the air service development team. Mm-hmm. And what this team does, they're dedicated towards bringing in new air service. Mm-hmm. So we have a systematic strategic approach to targeting airlines. We look at markets that are not served or underserved. Mm-hmm. And we go out and we try to recruit airlines to fill those gaps. Right?
And for the record, your team is busy. They were in the offices earlier today.
They are.
They're all over the place at once sometimes.
I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
You're right, and bringing in airlines for new service, as I mentioned.
Yes.
But also we work closely with our hub carrier, American Airlines. We hold regular workshops with them. We pitch ideas to them, and we have a great working relationship with American Airlines. And then among our other existing carriers, mm-hmm. we always try to grow service as well. Some carriers start with less than daily service, so we like to work with them to get that service to a daily operation at least. Mm-hmm. If it's service is seasonal, we want to turn that service into a year-round service. And also we're looking for upgauge opportunities where they can bring in larger aircraft, right?
Oh, okay.
So anyway, we can add more service, which means more passengers, which really is good for the community, good for the airport. It drives our aeronautical and non-aeronautical revenues. Mm-hmm. So that's one part of my responsibility. But to your point, the other lesser-known part, if you will, is I lead a similar team on the cargo side.
Yes.
So I lead a team that is dedicated to cargo business development at the airport. And they had the similar responsibility, right? Similarly, they're out there trying to bring in new freighter service, mm-hmm. trying to increase the cargo throughput through the airport. But it's a completely different approach. Right?
Talk about it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, because when we're talking to airlines for passenger service, we're dealing directly with the airlines, mm-hmm. right? We deal with the network planning teams. We show them analysis, and this is a long iterative process. It could take sometimes up to 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Not always, but we've had those situations where it is taking that long for a lot of reasons. Right now, what we're experiencing is aircraft delivery delays by the aircraft manufacturing. Boeing and Airbus
Yes,
are delayed on their deliveries of aircraft, and that's pushing back for us start of new service. So that's a challenge, but that's something that we all have to deal with.
It's part of it, yeah.
And that's something we've heard across the board thematically from every airline we talk to all over the world. They're waiting for aircraft. So that's pretty straightforward on the passenger side, right? Dealing with the network planning teams. On the cargo side, we deal with a broader range of stakeholders in the cargo ecosystem. We go out and talk to freighter operators. We talk to passenger carriers for the belly cargo, integrators like FedEx, UPS, and DHL. But we also talk to those people responsible for moving the freight. And those are, for example, freight forwarders, supply chain managers, shippers. And these are the ones that really move the freight. It's not just talking to an airline, full stop, and you're done.
Yes.
You have to talk to all these other entities in the supply chain to make it all happen on the cargo side. So that is really my key responsibility. It's really exciting for me. I get to talk to airlines. I get to talk to all these other disparate stakeholders across the supply chain, and for me, bringing in business into the airport, that's really excites me, right? Bringing in this because it helps our community as well. We're a big contributor to the airport as an economic engine, and I'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, that's fine, and thank you for your support, continued support of BioNTX as well. Milton, one of the things I often talk about when I have an opportunity, which I'm honored to have, with thought leaders and leaders like yourself, is that I have the opportunity to interact with people who are living in their purpose. And whenever I see you, there's a certain glow about you, about when you talk about freight, when you talk about logistics. And I say to myself, that is a man who's doing something that he loves to do and who's very good at it. So it's not so much about the years. And you've got, more than 2 decades in the space, but I can always tell that there's a joy about what you do. And so that's one of the things I wanted our audience to experience, to have this conversation so they can hear and see that in you as well. So that leads me to my next question. You've spent, as I mentioned, more than 2 decades in aviation and airline strategy. What originally, going all the way back when you first had that glimmer in your eye, what originally drew you to this industry and what continues to motivate you today?
That's an interesting story, Eric, because I do have that glimmer about. I'm still excited about this business, even at my age.
I know.
I'm really excited about it. But I'll tell you something on a personal note.
Yes, please.
I have a very young team. I like working with young people, right?
Yeah.
And I tell them that sincerely, that I wish for them that if they're working at my age. And they shouldn't be. They should be retired.
What age, Milton? There's no age in you.
But if they're working at my age, I say to them, I wish that you love coming to work and you love your job as much as I love coming to work and love my job.
Yes, sir.
I wish that for them. It's not about wealth. It's about loving what you do.
Yes.
But oddly enough, Eric, I kind of fell into this, kind of backed into it inadvertently. I wasn't trying to, I wasn't looking at this. So as an undergraduate and a graduate student, I studied international relations, international affairs, and my heart was set on the Foreign Service. One of my professors who was a mentor to me, he was an ambassador under the Kennedy administration. That's how old I am. He was an ambassador under the Kennedy administration, and he really motivated me in that area. And so that's why I went to undergraduate school and then I went to graduate school to pursue the same thing. So when I finished graduate school, I wanted to work in the Foreign Service at some level. And ultimately, like him, maybe be an ambassador if I was to be so fortunate and well-connected. However, here's the story. So between my first and second year at graduate school, the dean comes to me and says, "We've selected you to be a candidate representing our school for this internship in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Now, I was at the University of Denver. I should have said that.
Okay.
I was at the University of Denver Graduate School of International Studies.
Yes.
And he says, call this person and set up your interview with the internship, Executive Office of the President in Foreign Trade.
So I imagine there was no Zoom, right? This wasn't a Zoom, right?
Well, I was going to mention that because if there was Zoom, my life would be differently, right? So I call from the phone at the university because it's long distance. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
You know that was
no Zoom, no cell phone.
It's a rotary dial, my friend. And so I'm calling them, and she's very pleasant. I remember, and she says, "Yes, we can have you interview on this date at this time and such." So I said, very very nice, very pleasant. I felt so good. I said, "Wow, this is great," And then I say to her before we hang up, I say, "Okay, so where do I pick up my ticket, my air ticket?" Uh-huh. She goes, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, we don't provide transportation. You got to come here on your own."
You've been selected. Yeah.
So immediately, I knew I couldn't afford the ticket.
Yes.
I knew I couldn't. I didn't want to ask anybody for money for whatever reason. I don't know what was in my mind, but pride, I don't want. So I said, "Oh, right there on the spot, right there." I said, "Well, you'll have to cancel me out because I can't afford a ticket."
Honesty and integrity showing its face early.
She said, "You sure?" I said, "Yes." So that was over.
Yeah.
But I remember, I should have prefaced this. I remember though, when I have an older sister, and when I was still in high school, she was working her first job after high school. She was working at Eastern Airlines. And she was flying all over the world.
No charge.
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, I'm going to Buenos Aires. Oh, I'm going to Paris." And I was so jealous, because one of the things about international study, international relations that I was drawn to was like meeting other cultures, knowing history all these things, right? Yeah. Culture, history, language. And she was traveling to these places, and I was like going nowhere. I felt, right? I was like at a desk. And so I finished school, I graduated, and then in those days, you were writing hard cover letters, and we're sending out resumes, and you put them in stationery and you send them by mail. So
to our audience, you send them in mail. Not an email, but the snail mail. So
yeah. So I was doing that, licking envelopes, stamping them,
licking envelopes, audience,
doing all those things, And so, in those days, you send out maybe 50 to 100. Of course, you just send it. IBM. I was sending it NGOs. I was sending it to everybody, and I said to myself, I just had this idea. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send resumes to airlines. That way, if I have an interview with IBM in New York, I can just fly there for free. I don't have to worry about not having the money or the means or whatever. Yeah. So I started sending to airlines. Yeah. And I had a lot of good interview and conversations, but no one offered me a job except for Aeromexico Airlines.
Wow. Aeromexico, I can still envision their logo.
And the reason why I got the job so quickly at Aeromexico, I flew down to Houston. Yeah. I was still living in Denver. I just graduated. I flew down to Houston and interviewed. The guy who interviewed me, the hiring manager, was from my hometown in Hialeah, Florida.
Oh, wow.
So, it was a natural. Wow. So he hired me, and then I started working for the airline. And in the next few months, I was flying everywhere, too, for free. So I got that bug about it. But here's the thing, and I was like traveling. I got wrapped up in traveling, going here and going there. And I really didn't get serious about my career. I just like the life I was living and traveling. Yeah. I didn't get serious about my career until later, until I got married, right? Then you say, okay, you can't just be traveling.
It's for real now.
Yeah, and so I wish I had gotten more serious about the career part of it, but I was just enjoying the work and the benefits. And then I just started growing in the business, and ultimately, I think one of the best moves for me is when I transitioned from working for airlines for over 25 years, then working to an airport.
Yes, interesting.
And then I feel like a young kid again, starting and learning things all over again, learning a different aspect of the aviation industry, right? The airport side of it, And so that's how I kind of fell into this. It wasn't by design. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to work for an airline. But once I got into it, that aviation fuel got in me. I couldn't get it out,
All sparked by the fact that you had an interview and you didn't have enough money for the ticket, and you said, you know what, I'm never going to be in that position again.
Yes. And it was a strategic kind of thing, like,
I love that. I love that.
I had to cover myself in some way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And the strategic thinking reveals itself early in your career. Thank you for that story. It seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember everything pretty vividly.
Yeah. Well, that leads me, and thank you for sharing that, Milton. That is inspiring to me. So that leads me to my next segment, or next section, rethinking cargo from commodity to strategic asset. And I want to say that again, rethinking cargo from commodity to strategic asset. So with that, you've said before many times in our side conversations, and I've heard you speak at a variety of platforms like IC3 and other things that you've so graciously dedicated your time to with us. But you've said before that cargo is far more dynamic than people often perceive. How do you personally define cargo, not just as freight, but as a strategic asset?
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric, because I find that people outside of the industry rarely give much thought to cargo and how things move around the world, right? So when I think of the airport as a strategic asset, I think of the airport in terms of in the context of the global supply chain.
Yes.
Right? So the global supply chain is really made up of disparate yet interconnected entities such as transportation networks, distribution networks, right? These make up the supply chain, and it's very fragmented. So it's but yet it makes the world move. It enables global trade flows.
Yes.
This fragmented, very challenging supply chain is still what makes the world move. I think people started thinking about supply chains differently with COVID. I think COVID brought supply chains into our consciousness in a different way, right? Yeah. So I recall anecdotally at the beginning of the COVID outbreak, before it was really maybe a pandemic label as such.
Yes.
I remember a young colleague at work said, "Oh, I got the last roll of toilet paper."
Yeah. Wow.
And I said,
"Wow.
Well, why are you going out buying extra toilet paper? Because he was already." And people would intuitively think back then, well, what does toilet paper have to do with a virus outbreak, right? But then what COVID did really for us, not only as a nation or in the region, but globally, it really exposed supply chains. It really exposed infrastructure as well, right?
Yeah.
We saw immediately supply chain disruptions, inventories depleted across multiple categories, right? And then shelves were indeed empty, during COVID, right? So when you think about the airport and our cargo business, then you got to think about it as a strategic asset in that context, because we contribute this airport to this region. We contribute as a facilitator of trade flows, to connect businesses
Yes.
and to connect people. So so when I look at cargo and logistics, as you say, as a strategic asset,
Yes.
I'm thinking of the broader context, not just about moving freight between different modes of transportation. It's connecting all these disparate entities across the supply chain to work together to safely and efficiently transport cargo from point of origin all the way to the end user. And think about it like that, there's a lot of handoffs that happen.
Yes.
And again, disparate entities, some that don't know each other, but have to work together across this global supply chain.
Yes. Yes.
To make this miracle happen of transporting something from where it was manufactured to the end user. So that's how I think about us as a strategic asset in the context of the global supply chain.
Yes.
And I'm trying to position our airport, DFW Airport, as a major hub in this global supply chain. Now, just to give you some facts and figures, if you will, I already mentioned that on the passenger side, we're the third largest in terms of operations and third largest in terms of passenger. But cargo, our cargo business contributes just over $42 billion of economic impact to the region every year.
Wow.
And that's about just over half. That's 54%
54, yeah.
of the total $78 billion that the airport contributes to the region in economic impact annually.
Yes, I want to pause on that. So you're saying that DFW International Airport, as an economic driver for our region, overall is contributing $78 billion to the region?
In economic impact.
In economic impact, and 54% of that total is 42%?
54% is $42.3 billion.
42.3 billion. Wow. Yeah. Wow. We, a lot of people don't think about it in those terms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that includes, that's based on gross product and employment, all these things. So when that freight comes through here, I mean, there's a lot of entities touching it, moving it.
Wow.
And it creates a lot of jobs. So it's a big economic impact for our region.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What a great, sometimes it's like the human system, right? Sometimes you take for granted until it doesn't work, right? Until you have to go to the doctor, and it's like, oh my God, this is a pretty complex system that we call the human body, and I think that very much applies to DFW Airport as well. So safely and consistently is a word that you use as you talk about what success looks like relative to freight. So that leads us to a transition. Logistics as mission-critical infrastructure for biomanufacturing. That's a whole different dynamic. So the question is, as we shift from more of a bio focus, from cell and gene therapies to biologics and diagnostics, why are logistics and their air cargo so mission-critical to the biomanufacturing supply chain?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me start with this. Think about this, Eric. The pharma industry each year loses about $38 billion with the B, $38 billion in losses of pharma due to temperature excursions.
Wow.
So let me rephrase that and make sure I got it clear so everybody understands.
I want everybody to understand this. Listen very closely.
So temperature excursions and mishandling of cargo, mismanagement of temperature ranges, which leads to a degradation of the product or a loss of it or spoiling of it in some way, adds up to $38 billion of losses for the industry.
In losses.
Yeah.
Wow.
$38 billion. It's amazing. When I read that, I could not believe it.
Yeah.
And then 20% of all pharma is spoiled.
Wow. 20?
20% of all pharma that's shipped and managed, that needs to be temperature controlled is spoiled. And we look at vaccines, which is even more temperature sensitive. If you recall, during the COVID period, the Pfizer vaccine needed to be transported at minus 70 degrees Celsius.
Very distinctly, I remember.
And in the beginning, they spoiled a lot. You know?
Yeah.
So when you look at vaccines, 50% of all vaccines worldwide are spoiled and lost. And all that and other costs come up to about $38 billion of losses for the industry, right? Now, that is just the financial loss.
Yeah.
That goes nothing to say for the human loss,
toll.
right?
Yes.
Right, the toll on human lives.
Yeah.
How many lives are lost, or how many people lose or diminish their quality of life because of it, right?
Yes.
And that's what really, we can't put a number on that, right? We can't put a price tag on that. But think about that. So when you talk about cargo infrastructure, cargo airports, all these things in that context, then it's very, very critical that all the entities who are going to choose or accept to handle time and temperature sensitive goods do this in a precision way.
Yes.
This is what we call precision handling. That the temperature and the chain of custody has to be under this precise temperature control throughout the whole supply chain. And here's another interesting thing that really resonated with me, and it's why we take this so serious.
Yes.
When you look at temperature excursions, I say that's the number one reason why products are spoiled and lost.
Yes.
Well, most temperature excursions, the majority of them, happen on the airport because airplane lands, the cargo is offloaded and might sit on the ramp in the hot sun. You know what the Texas sun does here?
Oh my God, in August.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
The cargo handler could bring cargo to the plane and let it sit on the stage it, as they call it, stage it there for the ready, before it's loaded.
Yes.
They don't just bring it and put it on the plane. They put it, they stage it. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
It could be sitting out there for hours, right? And if there's a delay for something, it'll sit down even longer. So a lot of temperature excursions happen, most of them happen on the airport. So for us, this is very, very critical. And so we have started, you have to make a choice as an airport operator. You have to make a choice. If you're going to play in this field,
yes.
If you're going to play in this game, are you going to be an airport that is interested in handling and willing to handle, wants to handle pharma? Not now. Some airports might see it because of the business aspect. We don't see it that way.
Yeah.
I see it more as, yes, the business is good for the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
But we didn't just create facilities and infrastructure to do this. We did it to do it right, do it in the proper way, right? So what we did as an airport, we stood up a cold chain facility airside so that if temperature sensitive goods can come off the plane, they can go right into the cold chain facility and be cool, and vice versa. They can keep them there to the last minute and then bring it out to the plane.
Yes.
So, and then on top of that, we partnered with 5, again, talking about disparate entities across the supply chain.
Yes.
We partnered with 5 different companies here locally, and we encouraged them and we supported them financially to become what we call IATA, the International Air Transportation Association.
Yeah.
Okay, IATA, CEIV, Pharma certified. That means that their companies, staff in their companies, in their offices, went through very rigorous training to learn how to handle all these different pharma type of products. Their facilities were audited. If they had a cold chain facility, their facility where it was temperature mapped with sensors and everything to make sure that they can maintain the right temperatures, that the temperature is the same at the door as it is at the back of the facility.
Yes.
All these things,
Yes.
right? And so we're the second airport. We're only one of two airports. We were the first one, but one of two airports in the U.S. to become CEIV certified. And we have that certification to this day. So we made the commitment that we're going to, not we as an airport, but we as a community,
Yes.
that we're going to handle pharmaceuticals and bio-life science products, but we're going to do it right. And we have the infrastructure, facilities, the training, and the know-how to do this. Because when you look at those losses and you look at how it affects people's lives, again, this is not just it is a health care imperative, but it's also a humanitarian mission.
Yes.
The way I see it personally.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Milton, thank you for sharing that. We titled this show Inside Innovation because from the outside, people may see the biotech life sciences industry as this whole monolithic machine, right? It's a machine of people that are doing things, but it's also a collection of people who sincerely are good at what they do, but care about the greater good. And so it was important at what you just shared. And one of the reasons I was so excited about this episode is because I wanted our audience to hear that from your perspective, but also that the organization, DFW leadership, and you as a leader made a conscious effort to play in this space, if you will. And I think that's one of the things that makes our region, North Texas region, BioNorth Texas, and supporters like yourself so uniquely positioned for growth as an industry. So thank you for that. And as we begin to close, Milton, I've got one more question for you, which leads to the next section. And we kind of talked about it, and I've kind of spoken to it here. Leadership, vision, and regional stewardship. And again, you've spoken to it briefly in the last segment, but I want to take it from this global view and bring it back to you. We started with you, the young man going from college to graduate school and trying to figure out what he wanted to do in his life. So I want to bring it back to you. What keeps you energized? Because I saw a twinkle in your eye when you were telling me the story about how you got into the business. But what keeps you energized about the work, especially as North Texas continues to evolve into a more globally competitive life sciences hub? What keeps you motivated? You've done great things. You've articulated the strategy behind many of those things, but what keeps you motivated today? And what keeps you motivated to go another 20 years?
For your lips to God's ear, my friend. No, thanks, Eric. Well, really, I really believe this with all my heart. We, as an airport, we're an enabler, a facilitator, and a force multiplier when it comes to trade flows and freight connectivity for the region, and ultimately across the global supply chain. So that really is exciting. But let me preface what I'm going to say next by this, because this is very important.
Please.
I know a lot of counterparts from airports all over the world, right? And I can tell you that we would not be able to do what we do without our leadership.
Yes.
Leadership has to have the vision to support you. They have to understand cargo, because, as we said in the beginning, cargo is often overlooked.
Yes.
It's definitely not as sexy as saying, we got a new flight to Venice, or we got a new flight to Rome.
West Africa.
But our senior leadership has been very supportive of our strategy, of our cargo strategy, and what we do. And we couldn't do these things without their support.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it costs money. And like I said before, we don't run a cargo business, so it's not like we're generating money from it, right? Mm-hmm. I talk about humanitarian mission. That's me saying that, but it doesn't generate money, right? People do look at dollar and cents, but you have to have leadership that's supportive and get the strategy and see the vision. Mm-hmm. So we have that, and I'm very fortunate for that, because they really are supportive of what I do. So So that gets me motivated.
Thank you.
It's refreshing when they're supporting you. You're not always having to explain and justify and so that's really, it's a motivator for me. The other thing that motivates me is my team. And you say you saw them here today, and
they light up a room.
And I said to them, "What are you doing out there?" So my team, I have a team of 4 that are dedicated to doing all of these things I already mentioned, right? Building gateways at the airport so we can consolidate more freight, talking to freighter operators all the time, expanding the service that we have, going out, meeting freight forwarders all over the world, developing infrastructure and facilities for specialized cargo like pharmaceuticals and biolife sciences, working with the DRC and Kelly Cloud and these to help them with their site selectors. Yeah. I mean, they're all over the place, and that is really exciting for me. And so I can tell you that amongst them, or not amongst them, but combined collectively, they have over 100 years of cargo experience. Yeah. These are really professional guys that really have a lot of knowledge. And I can tell you, Eric, unequivocally, and it might sound a little bit of a braggadocio, but no airport in the U.S., and I know this for certain, has a cargo team like the one here at DFW. No, they might have one guy, maybe 2 guys, but none of them have 4 strong like we have.
That's not braggadocious. That's calling it like it is.
And again, that's because of our leadership to support that, to give me that head count to go out and do all these things. So, top down, bottom up, I'm motivated by both our leadership that supports it and the team that really goes out and does this fantastic work. So that's a big one right there. Another thing that really gets me excited is our growth potential. Yep. When I think about the bio-life science sector here, I go out and tell everybody there's a lot bubbling under the surface. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but I am part of BioNTX, and I hear it, and there's things are about to pop here.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting, as you know, right?
It is.
And so that's a big motivator for me. We go out to conferences all over the world, really. Mm-hmm. And when we go out to conferences, we don't go out and talk about, we have 7 runways. We have this impressive landmass of 27 square miles, the size of Manhattan. We don't talk about that. We go out there to talk about our cargo community, our infrastructure, the capabilities they have, and the expertise we have. Because a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
We don't have to promote ourselves. We promote our cargo community, and that's why we have this good relationship with them, and we're trying to grow everybody. And again, thinking about what I told you before about the economic impact that has on the region. So I'm really motivated by that, my team, the prospect of this bio-life science sector. And ultimately, I said this because before I had the team, it was me alone doing the cargo business development, right? And the air service development. And so they gave me a team, right? But I said this from the very beginning when we stood up a cold chain facility and when we became a CEIV pharma certified community here at the airport, that my ultimate vision was to bring pharma manufacturing here to this area, not necessarily to the airport, but to this region.
Yeah.
And the way I got connected with BioNTX is they heard that the DFW airport has a CEIV pharma community.
Yes.
And I got a call from the then CEO, and he took me to lunch. Said, "Well, tell me what this is all about."
Yeah,
and
I've heard that story.
And I told him about. I said, I want us to be. I said, I know there's an R&D cluster in the Bay Area. There's one at Research Triangle, North Carolina. There's another one up in the Boston area, but there's no identifiable, clear-cut manufacturing cluster. And I wanted to be the first one to be here, and that's what I'm doing that for, to bring manufacturing and distribution here. Because we have this great central U.S. location. You know, you can get anywhere within the 48 contiguous states in 4 hours or less by air. You can get down to Mexico in 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So we're this nexus that connects freight, you know, transcontinentally and intercontinentally. We're a perfect nexus for that, right? So our geography, all these things excite me. Yeah. But I'll finish by saying, I can go on for a long time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I love it.
But I'll finish with this because I just heard this recently, and it kind of like, you know, put the stamp on it. You know, like, okay, our CEO was talking recently. I'm gonna have to paraphrase, but he said, you know, so at the airport, you probably seen all the construction out there, and
exciting.
Very exciting, and it should be like within a 5-year plan. It should be completed and all done, right? And a lot of people are thinking about the airport in this 5-year plan. You know, that everything is going to be done. We'll have a new terminal, with new roadways, et cetera, et cetera. But our CEO, he said, I'm thinking 50 years ahead. Yeah. He said, I'm thinking about leaving something lasting for our children's children. Yeah. Right. Something that we can all be proud of, something that is going to be still viable, something that's going to still add value to the community, et cetera, for our children's children, that they can look at this and say, oh, wow, back then they did it right. Just like the forefathers of the airport, when they dedicated all this land, I said, they did it right, right? So something like that. And that really, really resonated with me, because I've been trying to create this pharma cluster here, this, you know, be this manufacturing cluster. And I want to leave something for the next 50 years. Yeah. I want to leave something where they say, you know, not me personally, but they say, yeah, that DFW cargo team from, you know, back then, this is what they created, you know. So I love that he has that 50-year look forward, and I have that as well. And so everything we're doing now is for lasting. So we're building cargo facilities that are going to keep us viable and strong for the next 30 years. We're going to be able to have enough capacity for the next 30 years, but I want to build something even beyond that, right? Yes. This lasting presence here of cargo, of pharma manufacturing and distribution, and that DFW Metroplex is known as this great pharma manufacturing hub.
I love it. You said something that you wanted to do 25 plus years ago, and it came to fruition. I'm 100% confident that what you're saying on this podcast today will come to fruition. Milton, it has been a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to BioNTX. Thank you for sharing the story with Inside Innovation. This is why we do what we do. And so we're grateful to have you. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
More to come.
And thanks for having me. I love talking about the airport, so it's easy, and I appreciate you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Milton, thank you. Not just for this conversation, but for the leadership and vision you bring to North Texas. This discussion makes it clear that innovation doesn't move without infrastructure, and infrastructure doesn't thrive without intentional strategy and leadership. To our listeners, if today's conversation reinforced the importance of connectivity, collaboration, and systems-level thinking, we invite you to become a part of the ecosystem as a member, as a supporter, as a sponsor. To learn more about BioNTX, our members, and upcoming conversations like this one, scan the QR code on the screen or visit bionorthtexas.org. Until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, keep building 50 years and beyond the future of life sciences right here in North Texas. And what a great show today. And until next time, be well.